Another look into the trade market, which includes some big names like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., plus a plethora of pitching, all on today's episode of Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafford, and I'm a national radio sports anchor, born and raised in the Lou, and a lifetime Cardinals fan, and I'm your host for Locked on Cardinals, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, covering your team every day. You can follow me on Twitter, X at JD Sports Radio. You can follow the podcast at LO_Cardinals. I want to thank those of you who make Locked on Cardinals your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. We're also on YouTube. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment, and hit that notification button so you know when new episodes are posted. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving the best fans in baseball all of the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode is being brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan of any city, even your rivals. Check out Booking.com for your stay today. So the AllStar Break has come to an end, and the regular season will continue on Friday. The Cardinals have announced they are going to have Sonny Gray starting on the road against a team that they're chasing in the wild card, and that would be the Atlanta Braves, who currently have the top spot in the NL wild card. Yes, I know winning the division is the goal. That's the main focus, but they're also chasing the Braves, okay? If they don't get to the Brewers, maybe they can get to the Braves, all right? So there's two chances there to get into the playoffs. The team also released their 2025 schedule today, which does have them starting at home for once against Minnesota and the Angels, and we can look at that deeper in another upcoming episode. Maybe we can do that tomorrow. But I want to focus on what's going on this year in this particular one. AllStar Break, kind of relaxing for the Cardinals, right? You know, Ryan Helsley was the only guy there, decided not to pitch, which was fine by me. But that was it. And honestly, it was a little bit odd that the Cardinals, despite being in the thick of things in the NL Central and in the NL wildcard, had little to no presence at this year's All-Star game. Like, there wasn't much going on at all. Nobody was talking about the Cardinals. Nobody was discussing any of their players, really. Helsley never pitched, so they didn't have to bring him up, really. Outside of the introduction of Ryan Helsley at the game, that was about it. Definitely more chatter about the national anthem in front of the home run derby than there was the St. Louis Cardinals during this All-Star break. There's a couple of ways to look at this. One is that it was drama-free. A couple of days of just kind of, as Cardinal fans, just going to relax a little bit. Didn't have to worry about a whole lot. The team itself got some much-needed rest, specifically for the pitchers who, they're a bit older. Guys like Kittredge, who, you've seen him wearing down a little bit. Kyle Gibson's velocity down some. Probably nice to get him some more rest. Sonny had been struggling coming into the break. We saw Lennon Michaelis get smashed a couple of times. So probably really good for these veterans to get a few days off and just kind of not have to think about baseball altogether. Another way to look at it is that the Cardinals aren't seen as a threat, which from the reactions I've seen online from you, the fans, that's pretty much fine with everybody. Nobody cared. Everybody seems to be focused on what's important, and that's just winning ball games. Who cares what the national coverage is, and who cares about the All-Star game, which means nothing anymore. National acknowledgement, who cares, right? Alec Burleson, do I think he deserves more attention? Yes. Mason Wynn, do I think he deserves more attention? Yes. But is it that big a deal right now? Is that what's most important about this team? No. And most people that I saw online agree with me. They're like, yeah, who cares? Let's focus on what we're trying to do, and that's just win some ball games. So 66 games remain. They're 50-46, and if they want to stay where they are in the standings or even improve, they're going to need to add some guys. And MLB.com's Mark Feinsand released a couple of stories talking about players who are on the trade block right now. Some of them being all-stars, like bigger names, and then some people just being pieces that can be added. Now, not all of these guys are going to be targets for the Cardinals, but a couple of them should be. So let's go through them and see what we can come up with. First guy that he brings up on one of his lists here is Oakland A's DH outfielder Brent Rooker. Now, we've brought him up before. Don't have to go in depth on what Brent Rooker does, but he'd be a massive get for the team, right? Cardinals could add his thumb to the lineup. Huge. Would be huge. He's going to be huge to any lineup he goes into, but specifically for the Cardinals, what a get that would be. Here's what Feinsand says about him. Rooker, last year's Oakland All-Star representative, seems more likely to find himself on a new team by July 30th, despite having 3 more years of club control because he turns 30 later this year, and he might not fit into the Athletics' long-term plans. Rooker followed up his 30 home run, 69 RBI 2023 season with 21 home runs and 62 RBIs before the break this year, posting a 942 OPS in 83 games. Feinsand also lists Mason Miller on his list under the guys that are all-stars that could be available as well. And for the A's, I still find it hard to believe that they move on from Mason Miller. Like, as bad as things might be in Oakland, they're going to be playing in Sacramento for a couple of years before they get to go to Vegas. And it sucks. I hate seeing it. But Mason Miller is a guy that you build around. Like, why would you trade him now? Like, I don't see the sense in that. But Rooker, it does make sense with his age and stuff. So when I brought up Rooker before coming to St. Louis, we got a lot of questions about, well, what would that do to roster construction? Where would he fit in on the team? Where would be where is he hitting? If he's the DH, what happens to specifically Alec Burleson, who, when you think about the outfielders the Cardinals have, he's probably as much effort as he gives. Let's be honest. He's probably the least athletic outfielder on the major league roster right now. Okay. Like, if you had to put together, you got Tommy Edman coming back, but even if the guys you got, you think Dylan Carlson's probably a better defensive outfielder. Donovan's been great in left. Siani's been fantastic in center. Nootbaar, is a good outfielder in right field as well. So you would think that Alec Burleson's got, DH or first base written all over him in the future. My answer to that would be, what if Burleson just stayed in right field and you had to trade away somebody like a Lars Nootbaar as part of the trade along with Dylan Carlson? Have we thought about that? I know Lars Nootbaar getting traded seems ridiculous, but at the same time, you got to give to get. I say it all the time. You're not going to get Rooker for cheap, and we know that there's going to be plenty of teams after him. So the chances that the Cardinals actually get him, slim to none, in my opinion. But if you're thinking long-term past this year, it would be a big right-handed bat to get your hands on, have years of control of him with somebody like Goldschmidt, who you might be moving on from at the end of the year, right? He also lists, but then you also got to think about Jordan Walker as somebody of your future too, which could be that bat that comes up and ends up being that big right-handed bat. I understand that as well. I'm not forgetting about Jordan. He also lists the Blue Jays' Vladimir Guerrero Jr. as a guy who could be moved. We've heard the rumors about him and Bo Bichette being on the block for the Blue Jays. I cannot even imagine that the Cardinals would even be able to sniff the amount of prospects it would take to pull somebody like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette out of Toronto. Bichette obviously is somebody that it doesn't really have a spot on this current Cardinals roster, but Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is somebody I mean, come on. Who wouldn't it be cool to add somebody who's like a legit superstar? Charisma, power. He's young. He's 25. And bring him into the organization. For what it's worth, other reports say that neither Bichette or Guerrero Jr. are likely to get moved anymore. But they would be cool. But let's be honest with ourselves. Are the Cardinals going to give up what it takes to get somebody like that? Probably not. All right, next guy on the list here. Another guy that we've talked about, Eric Fetty from the White Sox. Talked about him with Brooke Grimsley yesterday. Talked about him on Tuesday's show. Feinsand says Fetty put together a solid first half after returning from a year playing in Korea, 2.99 ERA and 19 starts. 31 years old, signed a 2-year, $15 million deal with the White Sox, who are expected to be big sellers prior to the deadline. Chicago could hold on to him and shop him again in the offseason, but given the thin starting pitching market, it wouldn't be a surprise to see a contender make a move for the righty. And we know that Eric Fetty would fit a need for the Cardinals. But again, the competition to land such guys, it's going to be hectic. It's going to be really, really hectic. So I'm not holding my breath on a move for Eric Fetty either. But the Sox are also shopping Garrett Crochet. So is there a chance that while everybody's focused on getting him, that Eric Fetty falls through the cracks and slips to, some of these big major market teams like St. Louis? Maybe. At the very least, I'm sure Mo will certainly make a phone call to the White Sox to check in on these guys. I have no doubts he'll do his due diligence and try to at least see what it would take. But again, not holding my breath. We're going to continue down the list from Feinsand next. Bullpen arms, because there's a bunch of those available too. We'll get into those next on Locked On Cardinals. Passion, drive, and patience. What brings home the winning trophy is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, make your lights look cool, and a whole lot more. Whether you're into speed, power, style, or you want the trifecta, you want to do the triple crown and get all three, eBay Motors has got you covered. They've got over 122 million parts to choose from for your number one ride or die. So it's going to be kind of hard to stump them on a part that you want that they won't have. You'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, this is the great part too. Your part guaranteed to fit your ride every single time, or they'll just give you your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. So keep your ride or die alive at ebay.com/motors. That's ebay.com/motors. eBay Guaranteed Fit, only available to U.S. customers. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. Going to baseball games in St. Louis is a tradition, and now that the Cardinals are winning again and, you're getting down to trade deadline, a move is going to make people want to come out even more, but more importantly, they're winning. So more people are showing up at the ballpark and enjoying what has been a very good home field advantage for the Cardinals this year. They've played very, very well at Busch Stadium. And when you want tickets to your game, look no further than the Gametime app. Gametime is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, and it makes getting your tickets to go see the Cardinals or any team faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app, they actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. So you want to keep your eye on that with those killer last-minute deals they make available. They've got the all-in prices, so you're not, you don't go to checkout and you're freaking out because all of these added, different things that you got to pay for are added on there. No. All-in prices, so you know exactly what you're going to have to pay for. You get views from your seat, make sure you're exactly where you want to be, and they got the lowest price guaranteed. Flash deals, zone deals, all-in pricing, Gametime ticket coverage where your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Just take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Gametime. So download the app today, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Are you watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and have to turn down the volume because of all the shouting? Then make the switch to Locked On Sports today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all of the screaming. You get the no screaming, but you get the streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. All right, so the link to Mark Feinsand's articles are going to be in the description and the show notes. So be sure to check them out, read them in their entirety for yourself, because there are some names that are on this list that we're not going to be able to get to today that you might want to read about. So be sure to click on those. Now, we've had Rooker, we've had Fetty so far, names that we've talked about plenty before. And even though the Cardinals bullpen has been fantastic this year, right? It's been one of their biggest strong parts of the entire season. We've seen some cracks in the foundation, specifically with Jojo Romero and Andrew Kittredge, because they've been used a lot. The games have been so tight for the Cardinals more times than not that they always had to call on his best guys, and it wears them down. I mean, probably no other people on this team needed the rest more than perhaps Andrew Kittredge or Jojo Romero, right? They needed some rest. And maybe the Cardinals just, put a little more trust into guys like a Ryan Fernandez or a Kyle Leahy instead. But if you can get a proven veteran to improve your bullpen, you're going to do it, right? So let's check out what the bullpen arms Feinsand has listed here. First up, I want to go with the guy from the Angels, Carlos Estevez. Here's what Feinsand says. Estevez's contract year got off to a shaky start, posted a 4.76 ERA through the end of May, but since the calendar flipped to June, the right-hander has been virtually unhittable, allowing just 3 hits and 1 walk over 14 scoreless innings. He's making $6.7 million this season, after which he will be a free agent. Based on the way he's pitched during the past few weeks, he could be a game changer for a contender's bullpen. Now, my eyes continue to go to LA for additions to this Cardinals roster. If you are an everydayer, you know that there are some pieces on the Angels that I think would help the St. Louis Cardinals. I think it's something they should look into. You know my feelings on Kevin Pillar, 35-year-old, right-handed hitting outfielder who just murders left-handed pitching. That's what the Cardinals are looking for. Somebody who can play outfield and crush lefties. That's what they want. That's what they want. So Kevin Pillar fits the bill. And they don't want to pay a lot for him, right? You're not looking for it. Like Luis Robert Jr. is going to cost you a ton in prospect capital. That's not what the Cardinals want to do. They want to make small but significant moves that will be pieces, not like a main portion of the roster. That's what they're really looking for. And I like me some Tyler Anderson, left-handed starting pitcher with a year remaining on his deal. So bringing in someone like Estevez would certainly fill the role that's been left vacant by Keenan Middleton and his injury. That way, the high leverage situations that normally go to Kittredge and have kind of trickled down to Fernandez here and there, but it wouldn't all be on Kittredge's shoulders as much as it has been. You know, another stud righty bullpen arm would be welcome. They definitely would. So, can you get something done? Can any of these guys? Can Pillar, Anderson, Estevez? Does any of that? Is it possible for the Cardinals? You know, that's the real question. Anderson's not going to be cheap because he's got that extra year. Pillar, I don't think it's going to cost much, but I think a lot of people might go to him if things are too expensive for some of these more bigger outfielders like a Luis Robert Jr. So we'll have to wait and see. But there's some stuff in the Angels that could help this team. Next up is left-handed reliever Tanner Scott from the Miami Marlins, another name that we have gone over here on Locked On Cardinals before. Scott is as close to a lock to be traded as any player in the majors, according to Feinsand. He says the Marlins made their selling intentions clear in early May when they sent Luis Arraez to the Padres. Scott will turn 30 next week, is making $5.7 million this season, will be a free agent at the end of the year. 1.34 ERA, 14 saves, and 39 appearances will be a big addition to any contender's bullpen. Everyone would love to have Tanner Scott on their team. The Marlins are going to be able to kind of name their price when it comes to moving him. And a team can make a huge move by acquiring not only Tanner Scott, but Jazz Chisholm Jr., who was also on Feinsand's list here as guys who are on the trading block. The Cardinals are not going to be in the market for a Jazz Chisholm. They're just not. But someone's going to get a hell of a player. And it wouldn't shock me to see Jazz end up with one of the big boys like Atlanta or maybe out west with Seattle. Seems to make a lot of sense there. So, again, competition for these guys, what you're going to have to give up. It's hard for the Cardinals to make moves for big guys because they just kind of got their prospect pool back into order. And it's still not one of the best in baseball by any means, but they finally got a little bit of depth. It's depth that's not ready yet to perform at the major league level. It's a year or two away, but are they willing to deplete what they just got for guys like a Tanner Scott? It's hard for me to think that they would do that. Another all-star that is mentioned on the list here is Nationals right-handed reliever Kyle Finnegan. Now, Kyle Finnegan was a late addition to the NL All-Star team, converted 25 of 29 save opportunities before the break, 2.45 ERA and 41 appearances. Feinsand says Washington traded Hunter Harvey to the Royals a few days ago, a signal that more deals could be on the way. Finnegan is making $5.1 million this season and is arbitration eligible for one more year before becoming a free agent. Damn you, Royals. You know, the Royals, made a very bold trade. They moved their number 2 prospect and the 39th overall pick in this year's draft to go get Hunter Harvey, which has set the bar pretty darn high for relievers. I get that the Royals are excited about what they got, but damn you guys, did you have to do that? I mean, the number 2 prospect in your organization and then a second round pick? Really? That's what you gave up for Hunter Harvey? Like, it probably wouldn't have blown my mind as much if it went for somebody like, for Kyle Finnegan or Tanner Scott instead. But Hunter Harvey, I thought that guy was going to be way cheaper than that, but it kind of set the market. So they didn't do the Cardinals or anybody in the league any favors with that deal. Finnegan would obviously fit the high leverage right-handed pitching role need. He's got that extra year of control, which is great. He'd be around next year if the Cardinals decided to not exercise the club option on Keenan Middleton. And, Kittredge is a free agent at the end of the year. He's going to be 35. If you're able to acquire somebody like this, maybe you can move on from Andrew Kittredge. Thank you for your service. But younger, somebody who hasn't had as many arm injuries, hey. So, I don't know. He's an interesting guy. Again, though, with the market being the way it is, are the Cardinals willing to trade somebody in their top 5 prospects to go get him? Seems hard to believe considering how conservative the Cardinals normally are. All right, we've got another reliever that seems like a guy that would fit the Cardinals' needs perfectly, but problem is his team has started to get hot here at the end of the first half. So we'll talk about that next on Locked On Cardinals. This episode of Locked On Cardinals is brought to you by Booking.com. Booking.yeah, with summer travel heating up, especially travel for baseball games, it's time to explore those U.S. cities that you always secretly wanted to learn more about. And yeah, we're talking about the rival cities. We're talking about Cincinnati and Pittsburgh and Chicago and Milwaukee, or, any other of these cities that you would want to go see your St. Louis Cardinals play some baseball. I mean, obviously, I would love to go see them in places like, out west, San Diego, San Francisco, L.A. Those are the places I would want to visit. I love going out on the coast and stuff, but obviously going to Cincinnati or Pittsburgh or to Wrigley Field, those are fun places too. And with hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, and so much more available on Booking.com, you might just find your perfect stay, even in your baseball's rival city. So Booking.com has got all of these choices for you across the U.S. for your summer travel this MLB season. And of course, if you're traveling with the Little League teams, they've got you covered there as well. The right stay can make you a fan of any U.S. city, even your rivals. Book today on Booking.com on the site or in the Booking.com app. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on PrizePicks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 players' stats and watch the winnings roll in. It's really that simple. I know I make it sound like, okay, if it's that easy, how come everybody's not doing it? I don't know. If you're not doing it, I don't know why you're not on there. Go to PrizePicks. Get on the daily action with your friends. Become a part of the PrizePicks community. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. And you want promotions? PrizePicks has got you covered there too. Lowering select player stats projections on Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. So go see them. Check them out for yourself. If you don't believe me, do your due diligence yourself and download the PrizePicks app today. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB and get your first deposit match up to $100. See for yourself. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy with PrizePicks. Locked On has launched the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube. It's also now available on Amazon Fire TV and the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. You can find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. So the Texas Rangers have surged recently at the end of the first half. They win 7 of their last 10. Starting to get healthier. which is a bummer, right? Because now all the wishful talk about, hey, let's bring Max Scherzer home when he loved it in his career in St. Louis. Yeah, that's probably dead in the water. Or what about one of their relief pitchers? Probably a moot point as well. The guy that Feinsand brings up is a guy that I've brought up occasionally here and there, but it's somebody that just kind of seems to fit the bill of what the Cardinals will be into this year, and that's right-handed pitcher Kirby Yates. The reliever, no spring chicken. Kirby Yates, 37 years old, but he's been one of the best relievers in the game this season, 1.05 ERA in 34 appearances before the break. He's allowed just 15 hits and 46 strikeouts over 34 and a third innings. Like, it would be a perfect fit for the Cardinals. Feinsand says this: the two-time All-Star could be one of the best trade chips for the defending World Series champs, who own a 46-50 record and are 5 games back in the AL West and 7.5 back in the AL wildcard race. For what it's worth, though, he put a quote in his story with Yates talking about the rumors, and Yates doesn't appear to think he's going anywhere. Here's the quote: being in our clubhouse, being in this organization, I personally don't think we're in a spot where I'm going to get traded. I think we're going for it still, and we're starting to play the caliber of baseball that we've been waiting to play for all season. Things are starting to click, but we'll see where we are in 2 weeks. Now, obviously, there's a chance that some of these teams go cold. Like, the Rangers spot right now, they're getting hot. They believe in themselves from last year, so you could see why they'd be hanging on a little longer than some of these other teams. You could see why, like a team like the Diamondbacks, after what they did last year, why they would feel the urge to hang on a little bit longer. But some of these teams are going to drop out. We're hoping, fingers crossed, that the Cardinals are not one of those teams that falls apart and becomes somebody who doesn't need to make a move anymore because they don't think they're going anywhere. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but their schedule is not the easiest in the month of August. Brooke Grimsley brought that up yesterday. Not an easy schedule in August. The end of this month, they're going to Atlanta, and then they go to Pittsburgh, and then you got the Nationals, and then you got the Rangers, and then there's the trade deadline. So the Nationals, out of the guys you're facing, are sellers, right? We already know that. But the Braves are buyers. The Pirates might be buyers. They might believe in themselves a little bit with all this Paul Skeens hype going on. And then there's the Rangers, who maybe by the end, when the Cardinals and them face off, maybe they're out of it by then. And maybe a deal can be made for somebody like a Kirby Yates or a Leclerc, who is their other closer, who their other really good relief pitcher out there. We'll see. But the Max Scherzer stuff, it was nice to talk about for a little bit, and it was a nice little idea, but I don't know if it's realistic. But I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the Cardinals are the ones who could force their hand by beating them. And then be like, all right, we just clobbered you. Send Max and Kirby on over. Maybe we could pull off a Moneyball scene where, like, yeah, I don't want them pitching against me tonight. Send them over to the clubhouse, and they just come over because those games will be at Busch Stadium against the Rangers. So again, it's going to be interesting, and you're going to continue to hear a lot of these same names being brought up for over the next week or so as teams continue to try to figure out what pieces they can get their hands on. I hate the fact that the Royals set the reliever bar so high. That is very disheartening because I find it hard to believe that the Cardinals are willing to give up some of this pitching that they've acquired in their prospects, in their organization, some of these top 10 guys, that they're willing to give up on them already just for this particular team. Not that I don't believe in this team, but are the Cardinals World Series contenders right now? Would one bullpen arm make them serious World Series contenders? Are they good enough to compete with the Braves and the Phillies in a series? Yeah, they could beat them a game or two here, but could they beat them in a series? Think about it. And then if you're Mo, decide like, yeah, am I going to give up a ton to help this particular team? We'll see. We'll see what happens. But I want to hear your comments on this stuff. I want to hear. I want to know what you're feeling about this. Let me hear your thoughts on these names that we've mentioned. Who would you go after? Who would you give up to get them? Are there some untouchables in your organization? Teen Kent's, Cooper Jerpy, Quinn Matthews. Is Jordan Walker untouchable? I think he is, but would you trade him if you could get your hands on Vladimir Guerrero Jr.? I mean, you have to think about it, wouldn't you? Are you willing to move some of these young pitchers, Gordon Graceffa, to help this team this year? It's a tough spot to be in. It just kind of depends on how much you believe that this Cardinals team can really, really make a push for the playoffs. And if they get to the playoffs, are they good enough to beat these top teams? Are they good enough to take 4 games from some of these guys? I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough place to be. But that's why Mo gets paid what he gets paid. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, do me a solid. Give us a follow on Twitter, X at @LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio. Like, subscribe on YouTube. We're close to 10,300 subscribers. We're getting there. We keep climbing. Thanks to you. I appreciate you. You're the best fans of baseball for a reason. We'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.